And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we will be discussing Trump's recent tweets where he stated that there will not be another stimulus until after he is re-elected. Now, I have accurately predicted that this would happen, not because I'm Nostradamus, not because I'm some genius or I'm a finance PhD, but because this country is extremely polarized right now. And the Democrats and the Republicans, they don't want it to appear as if the country is succeeding because of their policies or because they're working together. And they don't want to try to influence the outcome of the election. So it's at this point, it's very clear that we are in the middle of a decline as a country, as a nation, as a Western civilization. And I've been talking about this on this channel for quite some time, that they're basically managing the decline because this is all a part of the Great Reset. And this is going to accelerate the Great Reset. Right now in New York City, we are experiencing record numbers of bankruptcies. And I've been accurately predicting that as well, because there's more debt in the system than there's actual money in the system. And when you start understanding technology, and this is why I encourage a lot of you guys who are part of the academy to start books like The Creature from Jekyll Island, reading a book like The Price of Tomorrow, because if you do that, you will have such a better fundamental understanding as to what's happening and what's to come. And you'll be able to properly be prepared for this. I've said this before and I'll say this again. This is the best of times and this is the worst of times, depending on where you are in the economy, how you've prepared yourself for what's to come. For certain segments of the economy, we're going to feel like we're in a boom, like we're in a bubble. For others, you're going to feel like you're in the middle of a depression. It really just depends on where you are in the economy and how you are positioning yourself to take advantage of what's to come. So please like this video, share this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you join my mailing list in the description below so that you can be notified when I'm going live via email. If you want to contact me, simply click on my Instagram link, follow me on Instagram, shoot me a DM, and we can begin to dialogue. For those of you that are interested in cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, as well as coding, so that you can be prepared for the fourth industrial revolution, so that you can be prepared for the Great Reset, because technology is going to dominate the future. And after this presentation and many of my previous presentations, you should understand that at this point, it's clear that it's not just about, politics right now. It's time for a fundamental shift in the system. And many of us, as we can see, just look at the FANG stocks, look at Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, right? These are trillion-dollar companies. All of the wealth is flowing towards tech because tech is extremely deflationary. And we're taking on more and more debt to try to get less and less amounts of growth. So we have a free 7-day trial. You're welcome to come in there, test it out, see if you like it, and you can stick around if you like it. We also released our first project for those of you who are part of the Coding Bootcamp. If you missed our Academy's Zoom today, a recording will be posted tomorrow. We have our first project. Every week going forward, we're going to be building out a project. And then eventually we'll be looking to get into Solidity, where we'll start focusing on smart contracts and with the Ethereum blockchain. So, and also I am free this week for consultations. So for those of you who want to reach out, simply come over here and you can book a consultation. And if you can hear me and you can see me nice and clearly, just type 1 and we can get started. There we go. The ones are starting to come in. That's great. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to come over here to the resources on my webpage. And I want you to look at these books. the one book I want you to focus on right now, well, two books, The Creature from Jekyll Island and The Price of Tomorrow. If you understand fractional reserve banking and you understand the boom and bust cycle, then you would understand what's happening right now. And I've been telling you, it's going to take at least $14 to $20 trillion to get us out of this. So now, when we don't get this second stimulus, the Fed is going to come behind the government. And what they're going to do is they're basically going to create a lending facility for the Fortune 500 companies to be able to tap into. I promise you, watch. Jerome Powell's about to unleash the bazooka. And this is going to have negative consequences on the purchasing power of the US dollar. And understand that when the Fed creates these lending facilities, what it allows corporations to do is that they can now tap into resources to stay afloat. And basically there will be no strings attached, meaning that they don't have to maintain a certain level of their employees, and they'll be able to basically lay a lot of people off, outsource, or leverage technology. Now, understand, when I start showing you guys the robots and the drones, someone's going to need to program those robots. Someone's going to need to maintenance those robots. So this is why I keep stressing to you guys, tech, 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 tech. I don't care if you're in the marketing aspect of tech, if you're in the legal aspect of tech, you need to make sure that you are focusing on getting into that information and getting that knowledge base. Is extremely important. And the two books you need to read is The Creature from Jekyll Island and The Price of Tomorrow, because you would understand that these bailouts have been going on for an extremely long time. So now I always want to start the videos off with Big Claus from The Great Reset so that you can understand that I am not a conspiracy theorist. I bring you guys factual, relevant information. And the powers that be, the titans of industry, are calling for the Great Reset. So let's listen to their words for a good 30 seconds and let's get into the information.
From the forum's executive chairman and founder, Professor Klaus Schwab.
Thank you, Adrian. It is obvious that we are in the midst of the most severe crisis the world has experienced since World War II. 75 years ago, countries and people came together to shape the post-war global order, which brought us decades of peace, increased global cooperation, and prosperity to hundreds of millions of people around the world. The COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight the severe virus, but to shape the system for the need for the post-corona era. We have a choice: to remain passive, which would lead to the amplification of many of the trends we see today: polarization, nationalism, racism, and ultimately increased social unrest and conflicts. But we have another choice. We can build a new social contract, particularly integrating the next generation. We can change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again. And we can make sure that the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives. In short, we need a great reset. We have to mobilize all constituents of our global society to work together. We must not miss this unique window of opportunity. For this reason, I'm grateful that we are joined for this announcement of the Great Reset Initiative, not only by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, but by representatives of international organizations, business, trade unions, scientists, and above all, the young generation. Now,
so again, I always like to start with that. Understand what he just said. They named the World Economic Forum the Great Reset, and he said that they were joined by the Prince of Wales, by scientists, by world leading organizations, that they're getting together and they're telling you It's time to reset this. And when you understand, see, when you're informed with information, you can better prepare for this stuff. And this is why I can sit up here and I can make these predictions about things, because I'm just simply following what they're saying they're going to do. And at this point, they've pretty much been doing exactly what they're doing. Look at Tesla with self-driving cars, how that's going to destabilize so many people. Look at our aging demographic. Look at the population growth, how people are living longer and longer and longer, right? But we have so many baby boomers getting ready to retire, and we don't know how we're going to be able to pay out all of these pension plans that were put together for these people, right? There's so much strain coming on the system. And if you read the book, The Price of Tomorrow, you would understand that we're going deeper into debt to get less and less growth. It's extremely important that you understand that. Now, when we come over here and we read Trump's tweets, let's zoom in so that we can understand what's going on. It says, Nancy Pelosi is asking for $2.4 trillion to bail out poorly run, high crime Democrat states, money that is in no way related to the pandemic. We made a very generous offer of $1.6 trillion. As usual, she is not negotiating in good faith. I'm rejecting their request and looking to the future of our country. I have instructed my representatives to stop negotiating until after the election, when immediately after I win, we will pass a major stimulus bill that focuses on the hardworking Americans and small businesses. I have asked Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell not to delay, but to instead focus full-time on approving my outstanding nominee to the United States Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett. Our economy is doing very well. The stock market is at record levels, jobs and unemployment. Now understand, I've accurately broken this down as well. Trump's entire economy was fake and phony. It was all manipulated by the Fed and cheap interest rates. And when you understand that basically what was happening with these companies is they were just buying back their stock to push up stock prices. That's all that was happening. And then the Fed was going into the repo market, right, and through the shadow banking system and pumping tons of liquidity into these investment brokerage houses. And they were basically pumping up the stock market. And then the minute that the quote unquote pandemic happened, notice the stock market came tumbling down. And now we're starting to see the stock market getting ready to sell off again. Why? Because it's not about fundamentals anymore. It's all about the Fed. Wall Street is basically a junkie addicted to drugs, and that drug is cheap money. And they need more and more cheap money in order for them to keep this Ponzi scheme going. That's it. So the Democrats are going to blame the Republicans. The Republicans are going to blame the Democrats. The market's going to sell off. And then what's going to happen? Jerome Powell is going to come in and make the money printer go brr. That's what's going to happen. We've seen this game time and time again. And see, what you have to understand is you have to understand problem, reaction, solution. See, they want you caught up in this whole right versus left, when at the end of the day, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party is just the left and right wing of the same bird. At the end of the day, they are both flying towards the same destination, and that is the Great Reset. We are going to experience a managed decline. So this quarter, it may be the euro's time to tank. And then next quarter, it may be the yen's turn to tank. And then next quarter, it will be the dollar. And basically all fiat currencies will eventually return to their original value, which is zero. Now, let's play Rahm Emanuel, because, see, I believe in playing the politicians' words for you so you can understand that this isn't a Republican versus Democrat thing. And many of you get caught up into fighting both sides. But at the end of the day, even if you look at the whole idea about the taxes, the only way he was able to even manipulate the tax laws like that was based upon the tax laws that Biden and Obama passed. So at the end of the day, as a free-thinking person, as a person who's trying to prepare their family for the fourth industrial revolution, for a person who's trying to prepare themselves for the Great Reset, the last thing you should be doing is sitting around here and arguing about politics. You need to be getting yourself in order. You need to be owning gold. You need to start getting some land. You need to start networking with other people. You need to get your hands on some crypto. If anything, I would start looking to get some deep out of the money puts in the market if you're thinking that it may be a 20% dip or 15% dip, because the only thing that I haven't accurately predicted throughout this managed decline was how quick the stock market would rebound. I didn't think that the Fed would react that quickly. So you have to understand, for the Fed to start announcing $3 trillion and $4 trillion and $5 trillion lending facilities within a matter of a week tells you how fragile this system truly is. Really, really fragile. So let's listen to what Rahm Emanuel had to say. And now look at this. This video is from 2008. It's very important that you understand this.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I think America as a whole in 1973 and 1974, and not just my view, but obviously the administration, missed the opportunity to deal with the energy crisis that was before us. For a long time, our entire energy policy came down to cheap oil. This is an opportunity. What used to be long-term problems, be they in the healthcare area, energy area, education area, fiscal area, tax area, regulatory reform area, things that we had postponed for too long that were long-term are now immediate and must be dealt with. That we have helped to deal with the things that you think is. You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I think America as a whole in 1973 and 1974, and that's just my view.
So they're going to use the economy tanking as an excuse to force you to take the vaccine. This is not conspiracy theory stuff. They're going to, in order for you to be able to go back to work, to go back to school, the Democrats, they love this as well. The Republicans too, they love the amount of control that they have over the economy, that they have over where you can go, where you can't go, how many people can go, which is why they want to try to prolong this shutdown, because it gives them unlimited power. And for those of you who believe in this great uprising, it should have clicked in your mind by now that most people are sheeps. Look how easily everyone allowed them to shut down the economy. Look how easy they let them do it. You didn't. Where was the Patriots at? Where were the Patriots who were going to take back their country? Where were the militia groups at? Everyone sat in the house and gave up their rights. There will be no uprising. So you can listen to the Alex Jones, the David Ikes, and all of these crazy people in the world, or what you can do is start getting yourself prepared and understand what's to come. Now, how you go about this is up to you, but there will be no uprising. There will be no great fight or none of these things. Problem, reaction, solution. They're going to use this crisis to enact legislation and pass laws and to squeeze you. And to squeeze you as much as they can. Follow me here, right? So now, another thing I predicted, it says New York region sees 40% bankruptcy surge, braces for more. And see, this ties into the politics. This is why Trump doesn't want to basically put together the stimulus package, because he doesn't want the money to flow to states like California, to bail out states like New York, etc. Right? So they're playing this 3D chess game with you. And this is why I was saying before, this is where crypto comes into play as well. We're being able to opt out of the system, looking at new governance models, right? And many of you think that, like Bitcoin is just like this illicit thing. There are other cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin, right? You have decentralized autonomous organizations. You have DAOs. Like decentralization is bigger than just money, right? We need a new form of being able to collaborate and work together with other people and taking power out of individuals' hands, which is why I encourage a lot of you to start studying this technology, because it's deeper than just money and it's deeper than just Bitcoin. There are way more opportunities than just looking at Bitcoin. This structure of government isn't efficient anymore. It just doesn't work. And we do need a great reset. The question is, do we need a great reset that is managed by those that caused the problem, or do we need a great reset that we can actually control? So we'll get to that later on in the stream. It says almost 6,000 city businesses have closed. Recovery hinges on office workers' return. The pandemic has battered New York City businesses with almost 6,000 closures, a jump of about 40% in bankruptcies bankruptcy filings across the region and shuttered storefronts in business districts of all 5 boroughs. It's going to get worse. Remember, I was telling you, when they were saying to you, oh, this is just going to be 60 days and the economy is going to recover and everything's going to come back. There's too much debt and leverage in the system. And many of these businesses, they were already in trouble just based on automation and looking at Walmart, Amazon, and Target. When we come out of this, there will only probably be 3 or 4 major retailers in this country. That trend was already there just based upon the fact that people prefer to buy things online than actually go to strip malls. But now you have to really start thinking about tax revenue and how these strip malls are major funding facilities for local governments. Well, if they're not getting any tax revenue, then what does that do to pension plans? What does that do to 401k? See, these are things that you have to start thinking about the domino effects that's going to happen because of these businesses going away. This is a part of the Great Reset. These jobs are not coming back. And the government cannot forever just keep printing money and keep you basically sitting at home and giving you $600 a week. Eventually, the rest of the world, they're going to want to inflate as well too, which is going to lead to inflation. And we're going to get to that later on in this video where they're predicting a 35% crash in the dollar. Now, I don't think we're going to go that far down, but the dollar is definitely going to go lower because Powell just announced that for the next several years, we are going to be teetering with 0%, if not going to negative interest rates. But let's get back to this New York City article, because I think that this is going to be reflective of a lot of states throughout this country, especially Democrat states with large deficits. So it says this fall, the nation's largest city will see even more padlocked doors as companies burn through federal and private loans tapped in March. Landlords boot businesses that can't make rent, and plummeting temperatures chill outdoor dining and shopping. By late fall, there will be an avalanche of bankruptcies, said Al Togut, a lawyer who handled insolvencies for small businesses and huge corporations like Enron. When the cold weather comes, that's when we'll start to see a surge in bankruptcies in New York City. New York City and its businesses have reached a pivotal point. Now, understand, here in New York, they're only allowing businesses, I believe, to operate at 25% capacity as far as indoor dining is concerned. And just as this started to happen, now we're starting to see a second spike in quote unquote pandemic cases, because I can't say the word because they'll flag the video. Follow me here. What have I been saying on this channel for so long? The only way that Donald Trump can lose the election is the economy, because that's the only thing that he can run on. And now you have all of these left-leaning Fortune 500 companies colluding together to accelerate the Great Reset and basically tank the stock market and tank the economy. I was predicting this. That's the only way that Joe Biden can win. He has dementia. He can't put together sentences. He can't beat Trump in a debate. So the only way that they can go after Trump is going after the stock market. So now it just so happens that we're 3 weeks, 5 weeks from the election. Now all of a sudden we're starting to see a second spike, right? Now we don't get a second stimulus. It's just, as you can just start to see the dominoes just start to fall out in front of you. And this is why this is going to be a great time for those of you who are looking to dollar cost average. If you're looking for a buying opportunity, especially in the crypto market, because you know I scooped up a lot of Chainlink in the $7 area. We're going to get a huge price spike down over the next coming weeks. We're going to get a lot of volatility in the market. But let's get back to the article. It says, the state of New York on Saturday reported more than 1,000 new cases for the first time since early June. Let's go down. It says, the coming wave of business closings will touch every New Yorker as jobs get scarcer, neighborhoods lose beloved shops, and families run out of cash. Already dwindling tax revenue has led to cutbacks in municipal services. Trash on sidewalks, unkept parks, and an increase in shootings have made it more difficult to persuade workers to return to offices. More than 150 executives told the mayor in a letter this month a dearth of office workers is a death knell for many merchants. Now, look what's happening in California. Homelessness at an all-time high. Here in New York City, Homelessness at an all-time high. Now, you can say that this is being done because of, politics, or this can all just be by design, right? And you're seeing the wealthy and the rich, they're fleeing to red states. So it's a domino effect. And now we have New York City and other big liberal states. They're going to be in trouble fiscally because why? If they're shutting down their economies, they're not generating enough tax revenue. That's a problem, right? It's going to continue to keep being a problem. But this is all a part of a managed decline. Look at the Green New Deal. Like, that's what I try to say. Like, if you look at it doesn't matter which political party you look at, they're all trying to cut back your standard of living. They're all trying to attack your liberties. They're all trying to suppress you in a way or oppress you in a way. All of them. It's coming at you at full speed. You cannot deny it anymore. And I don't care if you are a Republican or a Democrat. The whole idea of a great reset is to reduce your standard of living, whether it's through immigration policies, whether it's through getting rid of bags, whether it's through making a certain amount of cars have to be electric. Like, literally, they're attacking you on every single front you can think of. Every single front you can think about, they are attacking you. But again, if you've read these books, if you read 1984, if you read the book of Brave New World, you would know about this. You would be properly prepared for what's to come. It says it's a crisis and we need to act. Our economy can't recover without saving small businesses, said City Comptroller Scott Stringer. We lose jobs, tax revenue, and the economic backbone of our city. The pandemic could permanently close as many as a third of New York's 230,000 businesses, according to the Partnership for New York City, a business group. Right here, almost 6,000 New York City businesses closed from March 1st to September 11th, according to Yelp, the website of user reviews. Over 4,000 of those closed permanently. What have I been telling you? These jobs are not coming back. They're not coming back. And then when you start thinking about Amazon and you start thinking about these large retailers, what do you think is going to happen to the retail industry? What's going to happen to the strip mall industry? What's going to happen to the banks that are holding that paper? What's going to happen to the people who brought the CDOs on that debt, who brought the derivatives on those mortgages? You can start to see the domino effect start to happen. So what does that mean? Jerome Powell is going to have to come in with the bazooka and do what? He's going to have to print money. There is no way out of this but printing money. That's it. It's either let everything go to hell in a handbasket or continue this managed decline where we keep having these booms and busts, these booms and busts. You have to be smart enough as an investor to start figuring out where will the next boom be so that I can stick my hand in that transfer of wealth and catch the boom. That's the most important thing. And that's what Jeff Booth's book is all about. You need to be focusing on where is the next boom at? Where can I catch the next transfer of wealth? That's why you see me constantly talk about I want to own gold and I want to own precious metals mining stocks. Why? Because guess who just recently brought a mining company? Oh, Warren Buffett. Guess who's been sitting up here for the longest and saying this to you over and over again? Get into precious metal mining stocks. I've been saying that to you for over a year now. And now we see Warren Buffett getting involved. And thanks for pumping my bags. It's the same thing I've been saying to you guys with crypto. You buy things that are undervalued and you sell them when they become overvalued. And if you believe capitalism is dead, then you just definitely aren't paying attention. You can make money on the way up and you can make money on the way down. There will be money. Capitalism is going nowhere. It will continue to be here. Make sure that you're paying attention. So they said the carnage has been demoralizing after decades in which the city fought back from the brink of bankruptcy, the scourges of crack cocaine and violent crime, terrorist attacks, and a recession. The pandemic hit as the city had achieved record high and low crime. Understand, I have a video where I read an excerpt from the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and I spoke about New York City back in the 70s and 80s when they was almost about to go bankrupt and they were having trouble with their budget. I covered this. G. Edward Griffin covered this already. This is how you understand this. Read Murray Rothbard, What Government Has Done to Money. You would know this. You would understand what's to come because you would know what's here. right? And when we go back here, I just want you to think about this. They say $2.4 trillion. A lot of you don't understand how significant $2.4 trillion is. That's a lot of money, right? That's not a little bit of money to just print out of thin air, right? And I want to pull up this article. Where is this article at? I have it. Give me 1 second, right? Let me take a sip of my tea real quick. Give me a second, guys. It says 4 pandemic stimulus packages, $2.4 trillion in funding. See what that means to the national debt. This is from May 8th, 2020. The federal government plans to spend historic sums of money to battle the economic fallout. So when you hear $2.4 trillion, a lot of you don't understand. This is from a country that's in massive amounts of debt already. Let's just pull up the debt clock so we can put things into proper perspective. Right? I love to pull this up because a lot of you don't understand, like, this is a problem and the rest of the world is watching, right? We're already $27 trillion in national debt, and that's not even counting the unfunded liabilities. But I want to go back to this article. So it says, over the past 2 months, Congress has approved some $2.4 trillion to combat the pandemic crisis and the resulting financial fallout. Billions to bail out industries, billions to rescue small businesses, billions to boost unemployment assistance. That historical amount alone is larger than the economies or gross domestic products of all but 6 other nations. The first stimulus package that they passed is larger than the GDPs of all but 6 other nations. There's no way that they can pay back this debt. And this is just for the stimulus package that they just passed. So understand that this is a double-edged sword. And the international money masters, right? The international bankers, they understand this. No matter which way you put it, you're doomed to fail. Right? There's no way that you can pay this back. All you can continue to keep doing is inflating. And understand that I was talking about this the other day. If you price the stock market in gold, the stock market has actually lost value if you actually price it in something that actually has value, in real money. So even if you're getting paper dollars, fiat currency, it's depreciating so fast that it doesn't keep up, right? And that's if you believe the CPI data, because we know inflation's higher than 3%. The cost of everything around you is going up. That's because of printing money, right? So right here, look at this. It says how much the U.S. has spent on the pandemic stimulus so far. That may sound like a large number, and it is. Consider what 2.4 trillion $1 bills would look like stacked up on the 68.3 square miles that comprise Washington, D.C. The $1 bills would be piled up 140 bills deep throughout the city. That's an insane amount of money when you just think about $2.4 trillion. And notice that every time they have to bail out, the boom and bust cycle, the bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If you go back, the bailouts before, back in like the 60s, they were like 300 million, 200 million. Then like in the 80s, they were like, 40 billion, 50 billion. Then in the 90s, it got like 200, 300 billion, right? Now we're talking about multi-trillion-dollar bailouts. So we're basically, remember, when you're borrowing money from the future, you're borrowing your productive capacity to consume it right now. That money has to be paid back. We're basically enslaving future generations on money that's created out of thin air in the first place. Now think about this. On a different scale, consider how it compares to entire countries' outputs for a whole year. Only 6 other countries, China, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, France, and India, have GDPs larger than 2.4 trillion. Look at this. 2.4 trillion exceeds the world's largest economies. It's larger than Italy, Brazil, in Canada. That's one stimulus. So just how massive is the stimulus package Congress has passed in mere weeks? Bigger than any single federal program in the 2019 budget by far. It's larger than Social Security, defense, and other discretionary income. That's the first stimulus that they passed. Why am I saying this to you? We're going to get to a point where the interest on the debt is going to be the government's largest expenditure. It's going to be larger than any other item that they have to pay for. It's just going to be the interest alone on the debt. And I have plenty of videos covering this for you and breaking this down. This is why gold is money. This is why gold is the money of kings and silver is the money of peasants or noblemen. And I believe if you look at the gold to silver ratio, silver is going to far outpace gold just based upon the gold to silver ratio and the fact that silver has industrial use. Now, why are we starting to talk about this? Now we start looking at this. This is where China comes into play. This is where Russia comes into play. This is where Iran comes into play. I like AG Mining Company. I own some of that, Armando. I own some of that. I believe that's Majestic. That's Majestic. I forgot the name of the company, Majestic, but I own some of that company. Right? So it says the end of the dollar's exorbitant privilege. Very important that you understand this. A crash is likely given the collapse in U.S. domestic savings and a gaping current account deficit. So let's zoom in a little bit. So it says, Giscard bemoaned a U.S. that took advantage of its privileged position as the world's dominant reserve currency and drew freely on the rest of the world to support its overextended standard of living. That privilege is about to be withdrawn. A crash in the dollar is likely, and it could fall by as much as 35% by the end of 2021. They're all predicting this and promoting this. Why do you think all of the powers that be are? Because they're all in on it. This is all a part of the Great Reset. They want to curtail and cut back your standard of living. The reason, a lethal interplay between a collapse in domestic saving and a gaping current account deficit. In the second quarter of 2020, net domestic saving, depreciation adjusted saving of household, businesses, and the government sector plunged back into negative territory for the first time since the global financial crisis at 1.2% in the second quarter. Net domestic saving as a share of national income was fully 4.1 percentage points below the quarter, the steepest quarterly plunge in records that go back to 1947. What does all of this mean? Simple. There's more debt in the system than there's actual cash and savings in people's accounts. Very simple, not complicated. I show you guys this chart all the time. You have over $80 trillion worth of debt. You have about $16, $17 trillion worth of cash flowing through the system or assets that could be converted into cash. Very, very simple. Not complicated at all, right? And when you start understanding the Great Reset, you start to understand where we are going. And I'm not going to read the entire article because I just think that it's important that, you know, I'll post this article for you guys to go and read because I know you don't want to sit here and listen to me read articles all day, right? So let's go here. Let's post this in the chat so you can go back and read this later. Give me 1 second. There we go, right? What I want to get to is negative interest rates. This is Plan B. He's the guy who created the stock to flow model for Bitcoin. He says central banks can print all they want to get their desired 2% inflation, but they will not succeed because technology is deflationary, drives prices down, demographic trend of aging population, older people spend less money. That's just common sense. As people get older, they will spend less and less. These are the countries and these are their bond yields, and they're all going towards negative interest rates. And Trump has been championing negative interest rates. Understand, we're used to a world of growth, of positive interest rates. So many assets in financial markets are tied to positive interest rates. No one truly knows what's going to happen once the Fed goes to negative interest rates. Right? But we do know that it's not going to look that good for the average person. This is why you want to own gold. This is why you want to own silver. This is why you want to own real estate. Because real estate tends to do well with inflation as well, because people will always need a place to stay. Now, where you own that real estate is going to matter, right? Where the real estate is located is going to be extremely important. And I would say, I don't want to own any real estate in urban, densely populated cities. After watching Black Lives Matter and Antifa, I don't think that you would want to have any office buildings. And then understanding with the Great Reset and people being able to work remotely because of technology, I think that maybe looking at more suburban real estate would make more sense than urban real estate, in my personal opinion. Now, why is this important? This is September 10th of 2020 that this was posted. See, I can confidently come here and talk about this stuff because look at this. This was published 12:01 a.m., September 12th, 2019. This was last year. It said Trump wants Fed to cut interest rates to 0 or below. Here's what that could mean for you. If you just follow the line of logic, you will arrive at the conclusion that you need to come to. They've been signaling negative interest rates for the past 2-3 years. That's the only tool left that they have. If you've been following the things that I've been talking about on this channel and you've been buying gold and you've been buying silver, you're up well over 30-40% on your money easily. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you this because I'm trying to act like I'm some guru, right? It's just simple. Educate yourself, read, and then understand game theory. If you understand game theory, then you understand what's the most likely outcome of a rational actor. The only thing that these countries can do is continue to have a managed decline or default on their debt. That's it. And eventually the default will end up happening. And this is why China and Russia and Iran are looking for alternative currencies. This is where crypto comes into play. This is where gold and silver comes into play. Why do you think central banks around the world are buying up gold left and right? Because gold, if you come back 1,000 years from now, that 1 ounce of gold will still be 1 ounce of gold because of the properties that it has. That's why it's money. So when I get up in the morning and I research and I educate myself and I try to get you guys to educate yourself, when you read this, you'll start to see this is just simply problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem, they wait for you to react, and then they come to you with the solution that they already knew that they were going to do. This is why I emphasize making sure that you're making the proper investments. If you're poor, the last thing you should be trying to do is having a lottery ticket mentality. What you should be focusing on is trying to become more valuable in the marketplace. What you should be focusing on is trying to acquire skills that will allow you to be more valuable in the marketplace and profitable and be able to thrive. If you understand tech, if you understand Python, if you understand C++, if you know how to program and build and JavaScript and web development, you'll be able to find work opportunities. You'll be able to work remotely. You'll be able to make money. Brandon Harris, that's a beautiful question. If I had $10,000 right now, I'll be focusing on precious metal mining stocks and cryptocurrencies. Very simple. Right? Gold and silver mining companies. And I'll be focusing on crypto projects like a Chainlink, for example. And again, this is not financial advice. If you understand oracles, you understand that Chainlink is bigger than just crypto, right? Like anyone who wants to run a smart contract, you're going to need data that you can authenticate and understand that you need outside data to feed into that, to be fed into that smart contract. And the data needs to be accurate. So when you see all of these enterprise companies coming into the smart contract space, then you begin to understand that Chainlink is literally light years ahead of anyone that's trying to come behind them. And maybe second, it may be banned protocol, right? So when you understand that that's the future, and you understand the future is decentralization, the future is automation, companies are going to want to start utilizing smart contracts, even if it's not on Ethereum. See, this is what people don't understand about smart contracts. It's bigger than just Ethereum, or it's bigger than just like a Tezos or, you know, or Cardano. Smart contracts are like what DocuSign was 10, 15 years ago. Like, that was revolutionary to be able to electronically sign a document, right? So when you can have a smart contract that can basically live on a blockchain where we don't need to deal with attorneys and lawyers and all of these, you know, middlemen, and basically be able to just allow the code to execute and facilitate that, you know, that business order, that's phenomenal. And then when you start understanding that you need alternative data to be fed into the blockchain from the outside, that's where something like Chainlink comes in. So Chainlink is bigger than just Ethereum. Like oracles and middleware is going to be extremely, extremely, extremely important. And I cannot stress that to you. You know what I'm saying? And it's not hard to buy crypto at all. So that's what I would be focusing on. So, but again, let's go down here where we start talking about negative interest rates, right? So it says, why would the Fed lower the rate to zero? It likely would take a recession, says economist Paul Ashworth of Capital Economics, but it wouldn't necessarily need to be a deep recession, such as the 2007-2009 downturn, he says. That's because rates are already historically low as a result of a slow-speed U.S. and global economic recovery routed in an aging population and weak productivity growth. Many economists are forecasting a recession by the end of the year. This is prior to the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, we were already in trouble. And this is what I was trying to tell you guys. The economy was phony under Trump. The economy was not thriving. That was all engineering. That was financial engineering and cheap interest rates. And then another thing I wanted to show you guys right here. It says the U.S. printed more money in 1 month than in 2 centuries. I want you to think about that. Like, when you understand just how insane that is and how unsustainable that is, the U.S. has printed more money in 1 month than in 2 centuries. Insane. It says, in a letter to investors released on July 29th, Pantera Capital CEO Dan Morehead noted that the United States has printed a shocking amount of money to combat the pandemic-induced financial crisis. The United States printed more money in June than in the first 2 centuries after its founding, Morehead wrote. Last month, the U.S. budget deficit, $864 billion, was larger than the total debt incurred from 1776 through the end of 1979. And this is why, like, when people say to me, you know, why do you need a cryptocurrency? What's the purpose of cryptocurrency? Like, you know, me, I like Bitcoin as far as money is concerned. I like, you know, DeFi with Ethereum. Those are my two, you know, where I'm at with my crypto picks. But understand, like, why do you need gold? It's just a rock. You cannot print more gold. You have to, like, gold is God's money, meaning that what's here is here. That's it. Jerome Powell's going, I'm telling you, once the market starts to tank over the coming days, you're going to see Jerome Powell load up the bazooka, and he's going to come with another $5 trillion or $6 trillion or $7 trillion lending facility. You know it's coming. They already started buying junk debt. I mean, you can't get any worse than that. Morehead made it clear that Pantera Capital sees Bitcoin as a solution for the current crisis. He also contrasted the effects of money printing in recent months to how the equivalent amount of currency had performed across centuries. With that first trillion USD printed, we defeated British imperialists, bought Alaska and the Louisiana Purchase, defeated fascism, ended the Great Depression, built the interstate highway system, and went to the moon with just $1 trillion, mind you. Morehead cited that the resulting inflation as the main reason one should get out of paper money and into Bitcoin, according to the CEO. There is no need for inflation-adjusted numbers with Bitcoin because there is no inflation/hyperinflation with Bitcoin. We know that there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And once people lose their private keys, you can never get access to those hardware wallets again, or those wallets again, because you lost the key. Not your keys, not your crypto. And it's believed that a third of all Bitcoin that's currently been mined, the keys have been lost for that Bitcoin. Here goes Peter Schiff. I don't like Peter Schiff, but this is what Peter Schiff said. Goldbug Peter Schiff is also concerned about the effects of money printing. He noted comments by the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who said this week the Fed was using a full range of tools to respond to the pandemic, printing money, keeping interest rates close to zero, and making asset purchases steady at $120 billion per month. The U.S. is about to experience one of the greatest inflationary periods in world history, said Schiff on Twitter. Any credibility the Fed has left will be lost. Federal Reserve notes soon won't be worth a continental. Continental paper in the U.S. was at one time exchanged for Treasury bonds at 1% of its face value. So where are we going with all of this? Where are we trying to go? What is the purpose of this? This all goes back to the idea of, I've been telling you guys that this was going to happen. And it's not just about predicting what's going to happen, but when it's going to happen. Because remember, when you're investing money, it's all about timing, because the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So you may have a right philosophy, but if you're too early or too late, you're going to lose out on the money. Thankfully, based upon my research, I've been accurate as far as my timing is concerned with my assets. And I believe that we're going to see an acceleration of the Great Reset based upon what's happening here. And again, I believe over the coming weeks, we're going to get a lot of volatility to the downside. I believe that the markets are really going to start to tank. And this is why I like to own gold, because gold gives you that, it allows you to smooth out volatility in your profile, right, in your portfolio. So let's pull up some charts now and start looking at some things. I just believe that that's what's going to happen. Give me 1 second. All right. So we look at gold. Remember, again, I like to take a little bit of time to just say, I told you so. I remember back in March when there was a lot of forced selling because of hedge funds and, basically liquidations and margin calls. Gold was selling off and went from, we were at about 1690 and we sold off all the way down to 1440. And everyone's been saying to me over and over and over again, oh, look at that. See, gold isn't money. Gold isn't decoupled from the stock market. And I told you guys, this was just forced liquidation. It was just forced liquidation. That's all it was. Margin traders had to raise capital to cover positions, to cover, maybe they were long Apple, Facebook, Amazon, the FANG stocks. And then right on cue, look what happened. Market turned around. We went through this little month and a half consolidation, and then boom, we exploded and we hit $2,000 an ounce. I've been telling you guys this, and we're going to see that happen again, because I promise you, we're going to see a lot of volatility that's going to come into the market. The market's going to start to sell off. The Fed's going to basically say that the government is incompetent and they're going to have to print more money, right? And even if you go back to the Fed's balance sheet, remember, going back to Ben Bernanke, they were supposed to be unwinding the Fed's balance sheet. The unwind never happened. They just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, the balance sheet. And it's going to continue to keep happening over and over again. Let's pull up some more charts. And I'll take some questions right now, guys. I'll look into the chat in a second. Let's look at silver. Silver is going to perform really, really well. I believe eventually silver is going to actually decouple from gold. Thanks for the donation. Appreciate it, Golden Gate. For developing blockchain apps, I mainly deal with Truffle, the Truffle suite, and Ganache when I start playing with blockchain applications and stuff like that. But I'll definitely take a look into Simba Chain. I haven't heard about it, but I will definitely take a look at it. You have my word. I want to get back to doing like weekly Q&As. So I just been so busy with my students in the academy. and just so much stuff going on with my business partners and stuff like that. But I'll definitely write that down right now, Simba chain, and I'll definitely make sure that I keep that in my mind. And let's shoot for Sunday to do a live Q&A where we just talk about nothing but markets and crypto and business stuff. We'll try to do that on Sunday. What else? So he's pulling up silver, but I don't know too much about Simba chain, and I have a lot of people who troll me, so I don't like to speak about things that I don't really know a lot about, because they like to take my video clips and chop them up. So, but I promise you, I'll do research on it. And again, I appreciate it. Thank you for the donation. I like to use a truffle suite though when I'm playing around with the Ethereum blockchain. What am I looking for? Let's look at the S&P. So I believe that we need to take a run down to about 3,200 on the S&P, and then I think that's when the Fed will start looking to get ready to basically get involved. I never believed in the whole idea of the Russian involvement, that whole Russian collusion. I just believe that was just Democrats playing politics. If I buy or trade a position of gold on the XAU chart, is that considered owning gold? No. So for example, if you trade futures, right, like that's basically like a contract for delivery. No one really actually takes delivery on their gold because basically you probably don't have enough money to cover the margin for that position. So most people who are like trading gold futures, they just roll their positions over if you want to hold it for an extended period of time. This is why you need to own your physical gold. Like when you see me and I show you my gold coins, because there's a lot of mechanisms around trading and investing in gold, paper gold. And I promise you that if there's a time where these contracts or these ETFs are actually audited, you would realize that they don't have all of the gold that they're quote unquote allowing people to trade. Right. That goes back to the goldsmiths back in the days where they would loan out more gold than they would loan out more paper certificates and claims on the gold than they actually had in the vaults. And that's what you're seeing happen right now. You're seeing a lot of rehypothecation where, the GLD ETF, I promise you, HSBC's behind the GLD ETF. I guarantee you that they don't have enough gold to cover that. That's a bank that's notorious for criminality and being criminals and frauds. So you need to be very, very careful with thinking that you own gold, because you may own like some type of, investment vehicle or some ETF or something like that. I would not want to focus on that at all. Owning your physical gold is where it's at. You need to have your gold either in your possession or somewhere where you can actually go and physically touch it. It goes back to crypto, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. If you can't touch your gold, then it's not your gold. If it's sitting in a vault or a safety deposit box somewhere, the bank can take it as well. Let's see what else. Let's see some earlier questions. Well, the way that Trump gets the benefit is allows them to keep the party going for longer. See, what a lot of you don't understand is that the whole idea about this is that they are trying to, it goes back to, I always get this analogy wrong or this saying wrong. When like you're cooking a frog, right? If you make the water too hot, the minute that you try to cook the frog is going to hop out immediately. But if you put the temperature just right, the frog will sit in the pot and he'll actually enjoy being cooked alive. And that's what's happening to most Americans, because most Americans are sheeps. Most Americans are not that intelligent or that bright to understand that they are being cooked alive right now. So by doing the whole negative interest rate charade, it gives them more time to further implement the Great Reset to the level that they want to do it, because they want to do this. They want to have a managed decline, a stair-step fashion down. And this is why the book, The Price of Tomorrow, is important, because you'll have a better understanding as to where essentially they're going. Because if you understand tech, you understand that technology takes away jobs. It's not about corporations being greedy and exporting your jobs overseas. The microchip is taking your job. When you walk into your grocery store, when you walk into a Target, Look what you see everywhere. You start to see self-checkout lines, right? Look at what's happening with self-driving cars, with Tesla. What do you think is going to happen to the taxi industry? They're basically going to be obliterated. Look at self-driving trucks. Elon Musk is working on that as well, right? This is going to massively, reduce the need for manual labor for people. Now, again, yes, you will need someone to maintenance the trucks. I'm not saying all jobs are going to disappear, but a majority of the jobs are going to be automated, or they're going to disappear, or you're going to really have like a lot of this, like, the gig economy, where people are basically going to be part-time Uber drivers, and then they're going to part-time do Postmates. Like, this idea of like full-time work in a lot of industries is going to disappear. This is why I emphasize to you guys, get involved in tech, because technology is going to dominate the future. Automation will dominate the future. That's just the reality. It's here. It's in a brave new world is in your face. So the powers that be, they benefit from this because it allows the charade to go on longer, so they can properly put in the facial recognition, to put in the microchips, to put into all of the things that they need to have, the robotics, the artificial learning, to basically micromanage every facet of your life, to input, to basically, implement the digital dollar, the Fed dollar, have a global currency where they can track everything that you do, and have like a social currency. That's the whole point. They're almost already there, you can say, but they're trying to get to that point. So that's the reason why you would want negative interest rates, to keep the charade going on long enough to basically turn you into a battery like the Matrix. Where do I store my gold? I store my gold in a very safe location. You should have a safe. You should have some guns to protect your safe. You should have some dogs to protect your property. I store my gold in my safes. I have multiple safes throughout the world. Safes in locations that I have control over. No one has control over my safe but me. But this is why I prefer crypto over gold, because with crypto, all you have to do is remember your mnemonic seed, and you can back up your crypto anywhere in the world. So the government does not know how much crypto I own. They do not know the keys to my hardware wallets. So I can, even if my wallet is destroyed, I can go to Brazil, and if I remember my 24 words from my ledger in a proper order, I can back up my ledger and take my money with me anywhere in the world. You're not going to be able to travel with, 20 ounces of gold, right? You're going to need someone to ship it for you. Therefore, you have to trust someone. This is why gold is not superior to crypto when we talking about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is digital gold, or that's what it's trying to become. And when you look at it from that standpoint, Bitcoin is superior in that aspect that you can actually travel with it anywhere in the world. Like, literally, I can put it right on my little ledger. And even if you confiscate my ledger, if you don't know my mnemonic seed, you can't access my funds. So that's basically why I have a lot of money in Bitcoin. Allegedly, might I add. Yes, I used to follow Gerald Celente, but then he went on the Alex Jones train, and I just had to let him go. I used to like Gerald Celente and his picks. Even Max Kaiser. You have to be careful with who you follow. I spoke about Ivan on Tech. I spoke about BitBoy Crypto before. I spoke about like a lot of these guys who, they get paid to promote stuff to you. So over the past month, there was a lot of hype in the DeFi space. And for those of you who are my students in the academy, I was telling you guys, stay away from that garbage. That all those meme coins, those food coins, sushi, yam. Because now look, so many people put their money in those projects and they got burned. They lost 90% of its value, 50% of its value, in those coins. Understand that these people on the internet, the Alex Jones of the world, the David Ikes, these people are here to sell you stuff, right? I'm here to sell you freedom. I'm here to sell you the idea of start focusing on your own research, start focusing on your own work so that you can protect yourself, so you can educate yourself. These people, they want to sell you all of these different forecasts and these trends and these books and these DVDs. Listen, when the New World Order comes, those DVDs and books are not going to save you, right? When the collapse happens, those books and DVDs will not save you, right? Believing in reptilian, shape-shifting aliens will not save you and your family. You know what's going to save you? God, guns, gold, and silver, and crypto. That's what's going to save you. And food, right? Making sure you have, that's what's going to save you. So I like the Gerald Celentes and the Max Kaisers of the world, but I also start to realize that those guys are shills. and they just, they don't think clearly and rationally. Like they just basically, they jump on one train and they just want to sell you that. Like Bitcoin is great, but Bitcoin has limitations too, right? Like, but you'll never hear these other people, like I could talk about the pros of Bitcoin, and there's a lot of cons to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is not the end all be all, right? Ethereum's not the end all be all. When you start understanding smart contracts, then you understand the need for a Polkadot. You understand the need for Cosmos. You understand the need for, Chainlink, etc. Like you start to learn this as you go. And I think that it's important to have a dynamic, flexible way of thinking to really be able to navigate what's going to come. And I think that this is especially for those of you who are black people. Many of us, we have a very rigid way of thinking, and we're following a lot of outdated policy, outdated ideologies and ways of thinking. And I think that we really need to break a lot of the thinking that we have, because it's not going to allow us to thrive in the 21st century. I'm telling you, there's so much coming down the pipeline that you need to be very flexible and dynamic in your thinking. And people say, like, oh, you're a flip-flopper. No, I'm intelligent. If the information changes, I must change. If the facts change, my opinion must change. I am not married to any idea. I am not married to any one way of thinking. I am knee deep. I am sitting on a lot of bags of crypto. If I wake up tomorrow and I see that the Fed has changed its policy, and the Fed stops, let's say that the Fed goes for, the doomsday policy. Let's say that they say, we're not printing no more money. We're not billing out anyone. We're going to let everything crash and burn. I would be selling everything that up because I'm already deep in the money, right? But I don't believe that that's going to happen because it hasn't happened yet. But if the facts change next week and the Fed stops printing money and the rest of the world and central banks around the world, they stop flooding the market with money, then yes, I have to change my philosophy. That's part of being intelligent, right? An intelligent person understands that you must adapt or die. You adapt. It's not called being a flip-flopper. It's called being an intelligent man. Intelligent people understand that. Where's other questions? I like that CJ Swain TV. I think that's a pretty good prediction. He says S&P 500 hits 3,100 by November. Biden will win. 100% agree with you, CJ Swain. I've been saying that time and time again. There's no way Biden can win unless the economy tanks. And I believe that the Democrats are 100% on board with allowing that to happen. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I'm voting for Trump or Biden. I'm not voting for either one. That's a good question, i.e. Bill. What good is Bitcoin if the electricity is off? If you honestly believe that the electricity is going to go off all throughout the world, then God bless you. I mean, can you name one time in modern history, can you name one time that the electricity has been turned off all throughout the world? In modern history, right? So let's say in the past 40 years, can someone in the chat tell me when has the electricity throughout the world been turned off? I'll wait. Because I think that's a good question. Never, right? So never. So that eliminates that question right there. That doesn't make any sense. And then when you look at the fact of there's also something known as proof of stake, right? So you also have proof of stake coins, right? Where that's basically where you don't even have to depend on electricity for proof of stake. So, that just doesn't make any sense. But I mean, people will say what they want to say. Thank you for the donation, Brandon Harris. What's your opinion on marijuana stocks? Okay, so let's look at it from this way. I'm going to cover each one that you asked, right? Each one that you've listed. So first, look at marijuana stocks, right? We see more and more states starting to jump on the bandwagon of legalizing marijuana. So let's say that we continue to go through this managed decline where we keep going through these booms and these busts, these booms and these busts. But the boom and the bust cycle will be more accelerated, right? So basically, it'll accelerate much faster. So rather than having to wait every 10 years for a recession cycle, we'll start getting them every, let's say, 3 to 5 years. The cycle is going to get faster. and we're going to go to negative interest rates. Let's just basically pretend that business as usual will continue to keep happening for the foreseeable future. The trend is going to be more states will legalize it. The government will basically allow you to buy it with your, government health care, and the medical marijuana companies will basically earn a lot of money. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, like this is how I look at investments from a macro thing. If things will continue to trend the way they are, government will continue to keep spending trillions upon trillions of dollars on healthcare, and we're going to understand that this has, it has a healthcare benefit, then these marijuana stocks are going to pop. That's just common sense. So I would want to be in marijuana stocks, right? Because I believe that that's what's going to happen, right? Business as usual. And I believe that the more that they begin to legalize it and more states adopt it, and it becomes more widespread used throughout the world, and people can go and buy it with their government issued healthcare, it's going to be a booming industry. So I would want to own marijuana stocks. Now, that doesn't mean go and buy some dirt cheap penny stock that Timothy Sykes is promoting. No, that means that you need to understand, dollar cost averaging, reading a balance sheet, understanding valuation, understanding the value proposition and how they're unique in the marketplace, because it's not just medical marijuana. You have to look at like the hemp products and how they can actually have like hemp lotion. Like there's so many different ways that you can monetize marijuana and cannabis and cannabinoids. So you need to make sure that you're looking at it from that perspective, that you're looking at a company. They even have marijuana beverages. I know, what was the company that I was trading maybe 2 years ago? I think it was ACB. It was trading on the, it was ACB. It was trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange in the pink sheets. And then there was another one. I can't think of it. I trade so many different things. I can't think of it right now. A weed. Canopy Growth. That's what it was called. Canopy Growth. That was a major stocks. Right? So Canopy Growth. Right? So Canopy, there we go. So there's a lot of stocks. And then there was another one I think called like Tilray that ended up being a scam. But just do your due diligence on those marijuana stocks because they can be very volatile. Now, 5G. Again, if you believe business as usual is going to keep happening, you understand that more and more people are coming onto the internet. Start thinking about the continent of Africa. Africa is going to be a major driver of growth in the future. Africa and India will be a major driver of global growth going further into the future. You see a lot of technology companies getting in there, and they're already talking about around the entire continent of Africa, building out these large pipelines for better 5G signal. I believe that Facebook and some other major tech companies are working on. I could be wrong with the company, but I remember reading something like that maybe 5-6 months ago. That's going to be huge, right? So now again, start looking at certain companies, and don't look at like the legacy companies. Don't look at like a Verizon or like an AT&T. Start looking at like the up and coming companies that are going to be, basically they're going to be bought out by those larger financial institutions or those larger telecommunication companies is what you need to be focusing on. Biotechnology, again, huge part of the fourth industrial revolution. People being able to live much longer, understanding the implications of that type of technology, 100%. Biotech stocks are extremely volatile. There was a stock by the name of Pran that I used to trade. Biotechs can pump hard, especially when you start looking at the whole idea of the vaccines right now. Like start looking at like Regeneron. That's a major stock. I used to trade that back in the day. I used to make some good money trading that. What's another one? I believe Celgene. Celgene is another company. Gilead. Gilead Pharmaceuticals. Merck. Pfizer. There's a lot. So biotech, and then start thinking about like the mid-cap biotech stocks. Mid-caps, understand like liquidity matters in the stock market, right? Even in crypto markets. The less liquidity, the more that's the asset's going to pump, right? So when you start looking at like the lower amount of shares outstanding, the more that it's going to be able to pump for you. So, and then gaming, I'm not really a fan of gaming. I'm more a fan of the semiconductors, right? The chip manufacturers. Because like look at Tesla. I believe Tesla has like, they said something crazy like hundreds of like different microchips all over and sensors all over the car. So semiconductors are going to be big going forward with just technology and how small technology is starting to get. So like NVIDIA and stuff like that, you definitely need to be paying attention to. 100%. He said, should I sell Nikolai? You really going to ask that question, Vice President Biden? I mean, Vice President Biden, if you can if you can remember your password to your Robinhood account, I think you should have been sold your Nikolai maybe a few weeks ago. I love some of the names that you guys come in here with. He said Vice President Biden. That's funny. I wouldn't put an actual target on the dollar. I believe they're predicting 35%. I don't believe that's an insane drop or red pill finance in the dollar. I see anywhere from over the next 3 to 5 years. I see anywhere from I would say a 5 to 10% decline on the actual dollar index. But in terms of purchasing power, and see, I think that a lot of us, we miss that. Like, we get so caught up in the price of stuff that we don't understand that, we're trading our time for this dollar, right? And I think that that's where the bigger questions need to be, asked, is that what is the world going to look like and feel like with a 5 or 10% decline in the dollar, right, on the actual dollar index? I think that that's the more important question. How much will it cost to go to college? What will be the price of rent? How much will a gallon of milk cost? I think that's what we need to be focusing more on, right? The actual, like the CPI and inflation for the average person who's out here consuming these things. I think that's the more important question that we need to be focusing on. And then when we start thinking about negative interest rates, I want you to start thinking about all of these large institutional funds who are seeking yield. And see, this is why you have to start thinking about yield farming, and then thinking about like Bitcoin and real estate. If you can't make money, right? If big institutions can't park their money in T-bills and they can't park their money in, traditional assets to make that 2, 3, 4, 5% on an annual basis, that's going to force them into more risky assets. And this is why I keep trying to tell you guys, the big money hasn't made its way into Bitcoin or crypto yet. It just hasn't. It's coming because you can't get yield right now. Just look at around the world. Right? It's not complicated at all. We have negative interest rates popping up all over the world. These large institutions, they have to make a yield for their investors. It's going to force them into more risky assets. This is why you can see Tesla pump the way that it pumps, because everyone's looking to pump their bags, right? And this is exactly where it's going to happen. And when you start looking at a lot of these DeFi projects and protocols, and they're offering, 5% yields or 8% yields, that's only going to push more and more funds into those type of products. Now, yes, we need regulation and stuff like that, which is the antithesis to what crypto was designed to do. But I'm just telling you guys common sense, right? Like, I try to give you guys the layups. Like, this is a layup. It's not complicated, right? Interest rates are going negative. We know that. It's coming. It's going to force people into more risky assets. Right now, the entire crypto sector, the entire industry is worth less than $350 billion. Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk is worth more than the entire Bitcoin market cap. Not complicated, right? Not complicated at all. So when you see that, you just know I need to make sure that I'm getting in somewhere, right? Now, again, if I'm trying to get a pump, Bitcoin's worth $200 billion. That means it's going to take another $200 billion basically to pump it. So I'll start looking at Ethereum. I start looking at Chainlink. I start looking at Polkadot. I start looking at, Tezos. And like I said before, I'm not a bull on the technology of Tezos. I'm just a bull on the fact that I know people are dumb, and that if, Tezos is $2 and it's worth $1.5 billion, then the people who are marketing it, they're going to say, oh, well, Tezos is the next Ethereum. And then you know how people are. They're going to buy into it because people are just, they're stupid, right? But if you're smart, you'll be looking at Ethereum, you'll be looking at Polkadot, you'll be looking at Chainlink, and you'll be saying to yourself, in the next 3 to 5 years, if you're thinking long term, and you're saying, I don't have a lot of money, I don't really want to play with the trading, I don't want to play the whole trading thing, I know the institutions are coming, then I want to focus on the easy things. The easy layups are Bitcoin, easy layup is Ethereum, easy layups Polkadot, Link, an easy layup is going to be something like what's the name? Well, where's it at? Atom, stuff like that. Like, that's just easy. It's low hanging fruit. It's not complicated. Just is what it is, right? So that's just, so as more and more countries go negative rates, it's going to force more institutions into riskier assets. That's just what's going to happen. It's an honor, Vice President, even though I don't like you. Laugh out loud, Taylor. Be careful with those wallets, Joel Hogan. Be very, very, very careful with those wallets. I believe there was an app that I was going to teach you guys about in the academy. I think it was like Dharma or something like that. Be very, very careful with those apps. They can definitely they can do some real shady things. And remember that you have a lot of counterparty risk with these wallets and these staking mechanisms. So you need to be very, very careful. This is why I'm a fan of just staking my own coins myself. I don't really trust giving my crypto to other people to stake. I just don't trust it. I don't trust that type of stuff at all. Giving my crypto to someone else, I don't trust that at all. John Lycos, I just put together the first project in the JavaScript bootcamp. I believe in week 3, that's when we're going to start getting on into like DeFi apps, depending if everything goes properly. So I'm going to try to balance the two, where like I'm going to leverage both of them into one, where we're going to focus on trying to like build some DeFi apps. And then that way, as we're building the DeFi apps, we can also get into what DeFi is. There's a lot of free videos on YouTube. I know that the guy Alex Saunders from Nugget News, he has a really good introduction to what DeFi is. But be careful with him. He's another one of those guys. He's going to try to sell you a lot of stuff. Again, I'm not calling him a scammer or anything. I'm just saying he's going to try to sell you a lot of stuff. Be very, very careful with him. You know, like, guys, I keep trying to teach this to you all the time. Learn how to eat the meat and spit out the bones. Just because a person may have a great presentation and they can speak well, doesn't mean that you should buy everything that they're telling you about, right? Make sure that you're doing your own due diligence. But as far as just getting some information, he has a really, really good video that he put together recently on his channel. I'll plug his channel because you know me, I'm not afraid to promote other YouTubers. I believe it. I have an abundance mindset. I'm not here to, try to steer you guys away from learning from other people, because you'll see the difference between me and them as you, experience both people. Give me 1 second. I can't reach my keyboard with this in my way. But he runs Nugget News right here. Pull this up on the screen for you guys. You can go here, check it out if you just want to get some good information. When I go into DeFi, I'm going to go into more of how to use the protocols. Like with the set token, I plan on putting together our own set token, our own index, so that we can invest in it. That'll be coming in the next month. But he has right here, right, Ethereum DeFi tutorial. I mean, he's basically covering basic stuff like MetaMask, stuff like that. He's not really going into how to utilize the protocols. I definitely want to dive into Open Zeppelin, start talking about stacks and stuff like that, flash loans and how you can liquidate people. Like that's what I'm going to be talking about, flash loans and how you can liquidate people and basically utilize your Ethereum to liquidate people on certain exchanges and stuff like that. But again, that's going to be extremely technical and risky stuff. That's not for everyone. And I want a lot of you to understand that certain aspects of crypto isn't for everyone. And that's okay. Like you don't have to master everything. Find one thing that you like and master that. You don't have to try to be some Jedi and know everything. Like people ask me about things all the time and I say, I don't know. Like I don't know about Simba Chain, right? Like there's certain things I don't know about. I knew yam was garbage and I knew sushi was garbage. Like, so I like to focus on the sure things. AJRX, for safety at minimum, how much cash should every American have on hand now? And at minimum, how much Bitcoin should every American own right now? Well, that's all relative to basically your net worth. That's all relative to based upon your needs, your family size, your location. So for example, I live here in New York. You cannot legally own firearms here, right? So my way of preparing for the Great Reset is going to be completely different if you lived in Texas and let's say you had, 5 or 10 acres of land and, you are part of a urban militia. So your needs would be completely different depending on where you are located at, right? So also, I don't have a family that I have to look after. I don't have kids and a wife and all of that. So I don't have to worry about protecting other people. So I think that is all relative based upon, your actual situation. What I would say is that if I had a portfolio, right? When I say a portfolio, let's not even just talk about assets. Let's just talk about just in general of, money, where I'm putting my money at, land. Just talk about a portfolio of life, for lack of a better, term. I would want to have at least, say I had $100,000, I would want to have at least $10,000 cash within my possession, because you know that banks can shut down ATMs quickly. We know that for a fact. They could put limitations on how much you can withdraw. They're already talking about bail-ins, where basically all your money that's there, they basically can just confiscate it and use that in an emergency act. So I want to have $10,000 in cash. I would want to have maybe, let's say, $5,000 in precious metals at my disposal. I would want to have at least 3 to 6 months worth of dry food supply. I've given you guys websites where you can go and buy food supply for very cheap. I mean, you for like $5,000, $10,000, you can get some really, really good, foods and stuff like that you can store in your home. So I would say, like, if I had $100,000 stack, I would take about 20 to 25,000 of that and use that to get prepared for what's to come, right? Because especially in the winter, it's going to be cold if you live in colder states. So that's what I would focus on doing, right? But again, it all depends on how big your family is. If you got a family of 5, you may need more than, $10,000 or $5,000 for food if you got a large family, right? But then, can you grow your own food? Do you have land where you can plant your own crops and stuff like that? So that's what I was trying to say. Like these things, it's not a vacuum. And this is why I was trying to say before, learn how to eat the meat and spit out the bones, where you can basically get enough. Now, Bitcoin, you should own as much Bitcoin as you can physically buy, or financially as you can buy based upon your budget. You should be stacking as many sats as you possibly can if you're a person who's saying that I don't really want to play in all of the garbage coins or the altcoins, right? Because as I was saying to my students in the academy today, when you look at the idea of money, what makes Bitcoin superior in terms of money is 5 or 10 years from now, Bitcoin is going to be the slow, clunky, boring cryptocurrency that it is. See, when you look at DeFi is sexy. Every week there's something new. Now we're talking about non-fungible tokens. Last month was all of these different food coins. And the more changes that you keep adding to the protocol, the larger the attack surface becomes, right? So this whole idea about, the testnet, and then it had to roll back to testnet. Then ETH 2.0 was going to launch last year. Then it was going to launch the previous year. Every year we're going to launch ETH, and then you have ZKPs and ZK snarks. All of that is basically saying change. And with more change in code leads to the potential of something breaking. If I have a large amount of money and I'm an institution, I'm not putting my investors' pension money at risk in some smart contract or some platform that can have a bug that can be exploited. That's not going to happen. So yes, Bitcoin is slow. Yes, it's clunky. Yes, it's inefficient. And that's exactly why people are going to buy it, because it's reminiscent of gold. You're going to come back now 10 years from now, and Bitcoin is going to be the same thing it is. That's a feature of Bitcoin, that the developers aren't tinkering every 5 minutes and trying to add, different layer 2 solutions and off-chain and plasma and the beacon chain and sharding. All of that stuff to an investor leads to, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, and I don't want to lose my money. So this is why, if you're thinking about just being prepared, go with Bitcoin, right? Maybe take 10% of your portfolio, 5% of your assets, and say, okay, I want to contribute that to some DeFi projects, because the way that they're going to outperform, and this is Alex Saunders, by the way, guys, that you're looking at. He's a well-known guy in crypto. Don't buy any of the stuff that he's selling, but just get some information from him. But again, like I said, if you're looking for to outperform the market, you can allocate, like I said, 5, 10, 15% of your portfolio to maybe to some of the smaller altcoins, but a bulk of your money needs to go to stacking sats. You stack sats, you'll be good. Thanks for the donation, TD Hip Hop. I'll try my best to keep up the good work. You cannot carry a firearm in NYC unless you are Army or law enforcement. Yeah, you can't. And that's what I was saying, that it all depends on where you live, what you need to be doing. But that goes back to nation building, right? That goes back to, actually networking with other people and corresponding with other people and having a plan. I keep trying to tell you guys, you should have a financial plan. You should have a plan A, B, or C. I told you, if I wake up tomorrow and the Fed says, you know what, we're raising interest rates to 8%, we're not printing any money, I'm selling all my gold and all my crypto, right? Because that means that the investment, right, the thesis for the macro theme has changed. That's what you have to understand. It's not about being married to an idea or married to an ideology. It's about being married to the conditions that will make you thrive, right now, the investments that I'm invested in it's making me thrive. But understand, if interest rates spike to 8% and the Fed, which I don't think would ever happen, but if it did happen, I'm selling all of my gold, all of my precious metal stocks, all of the Bitcoin and crypto that I have, and I'm out. Stacking stats mean just buying Satoshis. Like, a lot of people don't understand, you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. Like, people who see Bitcoin at $10,573, they don't realize that you can buy $50 worth of Bitcoin. You could buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, right? And each unit of Bitcoin is a Satoshi, named after Satoshi Nakamoto, right? So, like, when you look at a dollar, right? Like, the unit of the dollar, the lowest denomination of a dollar, the unit, is a penny. Right? Like, you can own a penny of a dollar, you can own a quarter of a dollar, you can own 5 cents of a dollar. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. You can have 5 Satoshis, 10 Satoshis, 80 Satoshis, 100 Satoshis. And I cover that type of stuff in the Bitcoin course. So on the Blackboard says, hey, Eli, so proud of you. Just FYI, no one needs thousands of dollars in order to store enough food, water, and mess for 6 months. I filled both my house and my mom's for a few hundred, a bargain shop. Yeah, I mean, it's possible to do that. I have a acquired taste. So there's just certain things that I can't live without. But I agree with you. I mean, you can grow your own food. You can deal with a lot of canned goods and stuff like that. I just try to, I'm giving general answers. So I don't want to be too specific. So I try to give people enough where they can do their own thing and, kind of tailor things to themselves. Yeah, in the South, that's what I was saying. In the South, my philosophy wouldn't make any sense because in the South, you have a ton of land and you have, you can own guns. You can own lots of guns. There's no limitations on like your magazine sizes and stuff like that. Like here in Connecticut, which is basically one state up from New York, north of New York, you can own a firearm, but like you can't have like a certain magazine in a gun. So it's like no point. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I can't kind of see the chat. I gotta change my setup. Ashe. like Umar. Let's see. Let's go up in there and chat, see what's going on. I answered that question already. Yes, Coffee's reviews right here. I was talking about this, right? These are the resources that I encourage you guys to read. Remember, I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years, guys. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I've been doing this for a long time. I lost a lot of money. I've made a lot of money. I've failed a lot, and I succeeded a lot as well, right? All on my own dime. Never scamming anyone. Just doing things as ethically as possible as I can. And these are a lot of the books that have influenced me. Right now, we have a 7-day trial with My Tech Academy. It's only $50 a month. You're welcome to come here and try it out. But these are some of the books I would recommend to you before we get to the academy. The very first book I would encourage you to read is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because you need to have an understanding. I'm not saying Robert Kiyosaki's story is true. We know that the story is actually a lie. We know that. This is more of a motivational finance book, right? It's more to inspire you. It's going to teach you the difference between an asset and a liability. So many of us, we've been taught that certain things are assets to us, even real estate. Real estate can be an asset or can be could be a liability, depending on if it's putting money into your pocket or not. And that all depends on your exit strategy and how the actual asset's performing. The next book I would encourage you to read is going to be The Creature from Jekyll Island. That way you will understand that what's happening today has been happening for the past 80 years. Like, this isn't new. You'll understand that the railroad industry has been bailed out before. The banks have been bailed out before. The health insurance companies, like literally bailouts have been going on for well over 80 years. This is nothing new. Very, very important that you read that book. And then it's a toss up between, The Price of Tomorrow or this book right here, What Has Government Done to Money? I would encourage you to read The Price of Tomorrow because it's more relevant to what's going on today. This is more of an Austrian economics book. And, a lot of people aren't into Austrian economics. But again, if you are, I would definitely encourage you to read that book because it's different than Keynesian economics. It just gives you a different way of thinking. I used to get kicked out of a lot of my economic classes from my professors because I read a lot of, Murray Rothbard and von Mises. And when you have that when you've been red pilled that way, a lot of these professors, they just can't handle the questions that you're asking them, like, because so many of these models are literally based off of fraud. Like, our entire banking system is based off of fraud, and you can't have perpetual inflation because the world isn't infinite, right? The resources of the world, they're finite. Like, there's only a certain amount of drinking water. There's only a certain amount of livable land, right? So you can't have these economic models that are just based upon endless growth, right? There has to be a glass ceiling, a cap on growth, and we're reaching that upper, the upper echelon of that cap right now. And then the next book I would tell you to read is Skin in the Game. Really, 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 really good book. I would encourage you to read that one. And then you could go with Brave New World, George Orwell. And this is like required reading for all of my students in the academy, all of these books, because you'll get a really, really good understanding. And again, to join the academy, we have a free 7-day trial right now. It's only $50 a month. There will be higher tiered products. That's going to be in the future when we start building out, some stuff with Solidity and building out our own dApps and our own exchange and stuff like that. But that's in the future. Armando, the funny thing is, that's a really good thing that you should be investing in. The guy Michael Burry from the movie The Big Short, in the book The Big Short, he was talking about that's his next big investment is water, because there isn't a lot of drinkable water throughout the world. And it's what you have to a lot of us, we have to start understanding that we live in this global world right now. Like, we don't live in this bubble anymore where America is just the dominant titan. Like, you have China, right? And like I said, you have Russia, and you have Iran, and you have India, and like these people, the rest of the world, they want to come up too, right? So there's a lot of 3D chess going on in the world, and may the best country, the best ideology win in the future. And this is why you have to be dynamic in your thinking. You cannot be a person who has a rigid philosophy, because none of us truly understands or knows what's going to happen in the future. We know that change is the only constant. We just don't know when. And when you have big Claus in them telling you that they want a great reset, right? They're telling you this, right? The top bankers, financiers of the world, the top scientists, the top entrepreneurs were at this forum, the Davos Forum, the World Economic Forum. So, and this represents the entire world. Thank you for the donation, Lamar Gilliam. Hi, tuning in. Would you say getting a high cash value whole life policy and using it as a personal bank or as another asset, Wealth Nation? I have no idea about a lot of those life insurance schemes. I have no idea about those life insurance schemes. I see a lot of these. I'm just going to be honest with you. I see a lot of guys who run in that scamming circle who promote those type of things. I don't know too much about it to speak about it. I could just say that I don't see a lot of ethical businessmen pitching that type of stuff. Most of the people who I see, promoting that type of stuff are unethical business people who they have a dubious background. And I think that it's very important that you start evaluating the track record of the people who pitch and promote products to you. I think that that's very, very important. So, I don't know about that particular thing. I just know the people who I see promoting it, they're not people who I would want to do business with. And that's just my opinion, like today, Jay Morrison, he had the investors call today and basically didn't pay out any dividends like I expected. Today was supposed to be, the first was supposed to be dividend day, right? So today is what? I can't even see what today is. Give me a second, guys. I got so much going on. Today's the 7th. And why am I bringing up Jay Morrison? Not that this is a Jay Morrison video, but just that, you have to understand that who is presenting the information to you and what their agenda is just as important as the information, right? Like it's just as important as the information that you're receiving, because understand everyone on the internet has an agenda. When you understand that, now you can understand how to use proper discernment when you are looking at the quality of a particular investment. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone. Period. In the discussion. Everyone. Now, whether or not that agenda is good or bad all depends on the ethics of that person. So when I am coming across information, I am scrutinizing the person more than I'm even scrutinizing the information, right? Because I believe in eating the meat and spitting out the bones. Therefore, I need to evaluate you and your character to figure out, is this person pitching me something that's going to be beneficial to me? And Anytime a person tries to speak over you and they don't try to simplify information for you, that's a red flag right there. Anytime that a person speaks vaguely and they can't go into deep details as to what they're trying to sell you, that's a red flag right there. If the person's selling you something and he travels or she travels in a circle full of a lot of people who are known to be scamming and scheming, that's a red flag that you shouldn't be touching that. Very, very, very simple, right? So when you look at the Jay Morrison and why I brought him up, is that if you look at the circle in which he travels in and you see a lot of these other brothers and sisters that are around him and you see them selling, courses and programs and, different information, you have to then start questioning their ethics as well, right? So if they're trying to sell you life insurance or some type of coding program or some type of trading program or real estate program, scammers and schemers tend to roll in packs. And that's all I would say to you about that. Be very, very careful as who you listen to and who they're connected to. Because at the end of the day, birds of a feather flock together. Thank you for the donation, Keith Reynolds. Most countries have prepaid water systems, not like here. I am a water scientist and wrote my thesis, How Water Will Become More Important Than Gold. I agree, Keith Reynolds. That's exactly what I was talking about. I totally agree with you 100%. 100%. I agree with you. That's water. Michael Burry spoke about that in the Big Short. I encourage you guys to go and read that. Read the book and watch the movie. Really, really, really good movie, The Big Short. So let's see if we got any more questions. We'll go another 5 minutes. Water's going to be a big investment. Really, really big investment. Commodities in general, like commodities that they have real use cases, everyday use, and you can't just find more of it. Those tend to perform well as investments. I was just telling my son about 1984. Yeah, really, really good book. Really good book. I read 1984 back when I was, I believe, in 8th grade. Is when the first time I was introduced. No, I was in 9th grade, matter of fact, when I first was introduced to the book 1984. I like ARK ETF. I like the girl, the lady Kathy Wood. Understand that this is a scam right here. Prime example, I'm gonna give you some game right now. ARK Invest Live, Kathy Wood. Kathy Wood is a beast. Kathy Wood is a beast. Brilliant mind. Another person that you guys should listen to, especially as a female. There aren't a lot of females in finance and business in general. So for her to be involved in this, she's been a bull on Bitcoin, a bull on Tesla, and a lot of disruptive technologies. But this right here, when you see this right here, this is a scam. These giveaways, never, no one's giving away any free crypto. Remember, Uniswap, for those of you who went through the academy and was able to claim those tokens, that's because you actually provided liquidity on the actual decentralized exchange, right? So they were able to airdrop that token to you. And this is why it's important who you listen to, because guess who told you to sell that coin, right? Airdrop. This airdrop went to $2.59. It's down 19%. Guess who told you to sell it? Guess who told you to cash out and go into Ethereum? And it's not financial advice. I have to say that because, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I'm just an OG. I've been doing this for a long time. I've watched these airdrops do this over and over again. I told you guys, when it was trading at $5, $6, cash out and get into ETH. Because I knew it was going to dump. You could just look at the amount of supply that they have. And I told you guys, Sushi Swap is coming and Polka Swap is coming. The Polkadot project is going to be a beast. And that Polka Swap decentralized exchange is going to be massive. Uniswap is nice. It was nice for right now, but I knew it was going to dump. And it dumped. I'm not investing in any. I have no investments in water. I just know that a lot of big investors are investing in it. Because you guys gotta understand. Like I literally just sit and look at finance stuff all day long. So I see a lot of wealthy investors investing in institutional investors investing in water. I mean, I don't personally invest in it, but I just know it's going to be big because that's where the money's at. And you can look at it and see that there isn't a lot of clean drinking water throughout the world. So I personally don't own any water. You guys know what I own. I own crypto. I own let me use proper language here. I own a lot of crypto. I was going to say, crypto, but I own a lot of crypto, a lot of gold, a lot of silver, and precious metals mining stocks. So, and I day trade futures when the market's moving enough for me to be able to, implement my strategy. That's what I do. So, and then I came here to YouTube. When I first started this channel, this was just more of like, I would look at this like a journal for me to share my thoughts or ideas, because I just saw a lot of foolishness happening online that I wanted to talk about. And then it turned into, well, hey, this is much more scalable than day trading, much more scalable than day trading. So this is where I'm at now. I watch EYL. I don't like them though. I'm not a fan of them. I don't, what I would say about EYL is I think that what they're doing is good. I think that they don't mean any harm. I don't believe that they're malicious, but I believe that they need to do a better job of vetting the people that's on their platform. And when I see people who have huge platforms and they don't use their platforms to stand up for what's right, when they don't, for example, if you had Jay Morrison on your platform and you allowed him to promote his courses and his businesses and his fund, and after watching what's been happening, if you didn't come out and either distance yourself or put pressure on this man to ask questions, I have to start looking at your credibility as a platform. Again, I'm not saying that they're scammers. I want to be very clear with my words. I'm not accusing them of defrauding anyone. I'm not accusing them of scamming anyone. I have to question your integrity as a businessman or woman when you can allow a man like that to come on your platform and then you don't even at least, give people the platform to counter the things that he is saying or doing, and that goes for Boyce. That goes for, Mike Son, Tamika Mallory, Sean King, all of these people who allowed this man to come on their platforms and promote this thing and take $14 million, $14 million, right? We're not talking about, just a disgruntled customer. Like, I have people all the time long who they call me a scammer because I get donations. If I get a $20 donation, they call me a scammer, right? I'm talking about this man has received over $14 million. $14 million. That's a lot of money. That's not a small amount of money. And for him not to have any background in managing money, and for him not to have any background in real estate as far as managing money and dealing with large transactions, to allow him to use your platform to promote him and then not question him or not put out the word about him, I have to then look at you a certain type of way. Black unity cannot mean that much to you to allow a person to scheme and scam people like that. So that's just where I stand. So again, I don't like that platform. And I see a lot of other questionable people that go on that platform. So like I said before, I'll rather stay on myself and build my own platform than associate myself like that, because you have to understand it takes years to build a reputation. This is for a lot of you up and coming entrepreneurs. It takes years to build a reputation, and you can destroy it within a matter of minutes. You can destroy all credibility within a matter of minutes. And when you start attaching yourself to other brands and identities, you become guilty by association, right? So when I look at the Breakfast Club, when I look at a lot of these platforms, I have, especially the fact when these platforms are promoting, the idea of blackness, and uplifting the black community, you have to start looking at them with a side eye and just start saying to yourself, a lot of the moves that they're making, you can't get it wrong this many times, right? This much. You just can't, right? And we're talking about business now. I don't get into people's personal lives. I could care less about your personal life. I don't care about your personal life. I care all about the business, right? And when you start looking at these things, right, it's problematic. When you start looking at the fact that they promote Polite, they promoted Umar, they promoted Jay Morrison on those platforms, and you start seeing these things, and it's just like, listen, at a certain point, it's you can't be that bad of a businessman. Look at me. Since I've launched my Tech Academy, everything that I said I was going to do, I've done. Literally everything that I've told my students I was going to do, I did it. No white supremacists that stopped me from doing it. PayPal didn't shut me down. My Stripe account is just fine. I didn't have any problems. Even when I was sick and I couldn't deliver for the 2 weeks, I made it back up. make the coding boot camp available for everyone. If I say I'm gonna get something done on this date and I can't get it done, then I get it done the next week. Everything that I say I'm going to do, I'm communicating, I'm transparent, I'm upfront with my students, and they know what's going on, right? And I give a free 7-day trial so that you can try it out and see if it's even for you, right? So that's how business is supposed to be conducted. But these other platforms and these other brothers and sisters or just entrepreneurs, like Grant Cardone right now is being sued. Grant Cardone has a class action lawsuit right now. He's being sued because these people, they promote themselves as these larger than life figures, like they have all of the solutions for your problems, and that's not true, right? Like only person who can save you is you. That's it, honestly, right? So focus on trying to get more information and less into buying into these personalities. The Derek Grace dude, I don't know a lot about him. What from what I understand is he's another one of those guys who he's into marketing himself. And he's into positioning himself that somehow he has solutions when in the reality, and see, again, you know me, I'm big enough to admit this. This goes back in the whole idea of the racial wealth gap. Once you understand the racial wealth gap data, then you understand that there are structural problems that are intact in the quote unquote Black community, in the African American community here in America. And you're not going to out-capitalism your way out of these problems. You're not going to flashcard your way out of these problems. You're not going to board game your way out of these problems. You're not going to hum, meditate, levitate, or chant your way out of those problems, right? So when you start seeing people targeting poor Black people, keyword, poor Black people, and going to do these corner classes or promising them some type of Trump stimulus plan and stuff like that, you have to understand that that's predatory, period. It's predatory because those people, they don't have the resources to be able to properly capitalize on those things, right? When you're dealing with poor people, you should be focusing on trying to give them access to information that's free or extremely cheap or affordable that can allow them to be more valuable in the marketplace so that they can go into the marketplace and earn more money. That's the only way that you can really truly help those poor people. And they need to be focusing on political solutions, right? Because these are institutional structural problems when you're dealing with poverty, right? So that you'll never see me go into the South Bronx here in New York City. You'll never see me go into Brownsville, Brooklyn, and tell them that, hey, you're going to join my coding boot camp and, you're going to buy this cryptocurrency and it's going to solve your problem because your food stamps are getting cut or, you're losing your unemployment benefits. I would be lying out of my teeth to do that, right? I'm not going to sell you the idea that I'm going to buy back the block with $14 million when you're competing against large hedge funds and large institutional funds that have billions of dollars that can leverage it up 50 to 1, right? Like I'm not doing that, right? When my products and services are for people that have disposable income. My products and services are for people who they have a job or some type of an income and they can focus on trying to become more valuable or learn a new skill set, right? Like I'm not trying to do that. And I see a lot of those people, and again, I'm not accusing anyone of doing that, but it's like, it looks like they're preying upon people's, hopes and desires. And I just think that that's unethical in my opinion, personally. I believe Trading Fraternity is, that's the guy who doesn't show his face. I think he's out of California and he mainly deals with options. I actually like him. I like the guy Trading Fraternity. He's sort of like I wouldn't say like a troll, but he has like a personality where he basically he talks a lot of, he comes at a lot of different people. I like him. I like his content. He seems knowledgeable about his stuff. I haven't purchased any of his courses, but I like his stuff that he comes out with. I'm not really big into options. Options isn't my thing, but I have a business partner that is really good with options. So he takes care of any like options investments and stuff like that. That's not my wheelhouse. Yes, I know about Minority Mindset. That's the guy. I think he's like a Sikh or something like that. He has like the head wrap. I've watched his videos. He puts out good information. Whiteboard Finance puts out good information. I told you guys, when it comes to trading, I mainly focus on S&B Capital. That's where you're going to get the cream of the crop information from. That's where you get really good information from. S&B Capital, that's where I went and learned how to trade from. I learned how to trade with S&B Capital. Really, really, really phenomenal. You can't go wrong there. So, but we're coming up on 2 hours. I don't like to let these streams go over 2 hours, so I'm going to end it here. Thank you to everyone that donated. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you join my mailing list so that you can be notified whenever we are going live. If you want to contact me, reach out to me. My email is in the About section on my YouTube channel. You can also connect with me on Instagram, shoot me a DM, and we can dialogue. If you're interested in learning about cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, and coding, and JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, we currently have a free 7-day trial going on. A link to that's in the description as well, and also in the chat. Thank you to everyone that donated tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. I think I like this format of doing streams later on in the night because I'm extremely busy throughout the day. But what I want you to understand is that I don't care if you are a Republican. I don't care if you are a Democrat. I don't care what side of the aisle that you sit on. It's just the left and the right wing of the same bird. We are going through a managed decline. And at the end of the day, we're going through the fourth industrial revolution. You need to make sure that you are properly preparing yourself spiritually, financially, educating yourself so that you can endure what's about to come your way. Now is not the time to, dive into all of these crazy conspiracy theories and stuff like that. It's good to entertain them from time to time, but now you need to be focusing on actionable information. And you constantly and consistently hear me say that. I don't care about how knowledgeable a person is. I care about if I can actually implement the information. Being able to implement information, act on information is more important than receiving information. What good is it to get all of this information if you can't act on it? So what I focus on doing on this channel is giving you guys actionable information that you can take action on that can improve your life. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed and beautiful night.